Welcome everyone to our webinar today on FrameReady Lite versus Standard. There are two versions of FrameReady that we offer, and I want to start out with a little bit of an explanation of how FrameReady got started. The original version of FrameReady is the standard version that was designed by Bert DeRue, who had a small frame shop that he ran with his wife Evelyn. And they found that they wanted to include everything that they needed to do in their shop in the software program. And it was only when the camera stores came out and said that they wanted to get into picture framing that we decided to also create the Lite version, because they already had a point of sale system, so they needed something that was strictly a frame pricing program. The difference between these two versions, that the standard is a point of sale and the Lite version is a frame pricing program, and that's the difference between them. So we're going to cover three things in this video. We're going to talk about what are the differences, how do you know which one you need, and can you move from the Lite version to the standard point of sale version. We're going to go right into FrameReady. So this is the FrameReady Standard point of sale screen, and you can see that there are a multitude of boxes on this screen showing all the different files that are available in the standard version. However, if I show you the Lite version of FrameReady, you can see that there are fewer boxes. So that means that there are fewer features available for you to be able to use. We'll start with the Lite version, and you can see the difference here that the Lite version has the ability to price out the work order and then keep track of your customers and the contacts, and also generate all the retail prices for you, providing you with the vendor updates, and then the ability to send those material lists off to the suppliers so that you can make sure that everything you need is at your fingertips, and then go ahead and complete the order. So this is the frame pricing component of the FrameReady Lite version. Now, if we go back to the standard version of FrameReady, you'll see that there is a lot more here. When we look at this screen, you not only have the ability to create the work orders and keep track of all your contacts, but you also have the ability to process the invoicing as well. And the invoicing is going to give you the ability to have that point of sale. Down here at the bottom, we also have the gift certificates, which is not available in the Lite version. And basically, I look at that as the gift of a new customer. And then we look over here at the retail products, which could be not only products that you're selling, such as ready-made frames or giftware, consignment items, but it could also be services as well. So we're going to take another little bit more in-depth look at this. And looking between the retail management system of this version of FrameReady point of sale and the Lite version. And going in and comparing some of the details in the options tab, you'll see that both of these look fairly the same on the surface. It's only when you dig a little bit deeper that you're going to see under here, under the invoice posting, and it's still there, you can see it, because you may need to say that your items are non-taxable or the labor is not going to be discounted. So those two options are there. And even though you see the QuickBooks tab, QuickBooks is not available with the Lite version. You do have to have the standard version of FrameReady in order to have those things available. Also, in the standard version of FrameReady, when you get to the more options, you'll see that under the invoice posting, there are a lot of other options available to you. And that's only in the FrameReady standard version. In the invoice section, you have the ability to create new invoices whenever you want to sell a retail product or whenever you're doing some framing. You also have sales reports that are going to tell you how your business is doing each day. You have statements that you can send to customers to keep the money coming in, and also you have your accounts receivable reports. Looking down at the retail section of this program, so in the retail products section, you have the ability to sell not only ready-mades, but art, consignment products, services, deliveries, even art classes. All of that is in the products file. If we move back now to the gift certificate file, this is, as I said, the gift of a new customer coming in to you. And you have the ability to show them options of which ones they want to print out. And you can print it in English or French. Of course, the words that you type won't be in English and French unless you type them that way. But this is the gift of a new customer coming in, and FrameReady will track it for you, and you can tell how many have been redeemed and how many have not been redeemed. There are also some other screens in here that you may not be aware of, and these are the outbound. This is if a customer wants to take a piece of art home, or an interior decorator designer wants to take it out on spec. Even if a customer wants to take some samples home, your molding samples or mat board samples, you can consign them out, you know where they are, and then they're going to stay on this list until they come back. And then once they're back, you can either say that the item has been sold or it has been returned. So it's just another way of keeping track. Going back to the main menu, another aspect is the art resource. If you have people that are coming in looking for specific art, you have the ability to keep a track of them in a listing in here that shows you all the different pieces of art, that you know where they are, how to get them, where you can find them, so that it's easier for you to sell those. The work orders, the contacts, the invoices, those are at the top of the screen because those are the files that you are going to use the most. So they're easily available to you. But you may be looking at all of the other files that are on here thinking that I may not need the products or the gift certificates or the outbound consignments or the art resources or the to-do messages or the time cards, all of the other things that are in here. But I'm going to say to you that if you're looking at this and saying that this is probably more than I will ever use, I'm going to suggest to you to take a look at your frame shop and look at all of the frame samples that are up on the wall and all of the mat board samples that are on your rack, because those are probably more than you will ever use. You will never use every single one of them. But however, the one that you do need, it's important that it's there when you need it. And that's the same thing about FrameReady, that when you're working with it, you're going to use different features throughout the program. And you may decide that you want to start out with a handful of them and then adapt. And as you grow and you need to add more onto your business and you're adapting and doing more with it, then all of those features are there and available for you. So that's the important part of it. So I'm going to go and take a look at the work order screen, because this is the screen that you're going to use the most. And if I look at the work orders in the standard version of FrameReady, you can see there's a long list of buttons on the left-hand side of the screen. Now, if I go back into the Lite version of FrameReady and do the exact same thing, when we look at this, you're going to notice that there's some differences here, that you don't have all the same buttons that you have on the standard program, and it's these invoicing buttons that are missing because you don't have the ability to create an invoice. So on the Lite version of FrameReady, when you create a work order for the customer, there won't be an invoice for you to give to them. The idea is that you already have a point of sale system that you're going to use. If you're starting out and you decide you want to write out your invoice by hand, you can do that as well. But this is just a little bit of a comparison to say there are some differences. You will see those differences in here. Also, when I'm looking at the Lite version, I'm noticing that the product file, the ability to pull a product out of the inventory and frame it on an order and have all of that done in one instance is not there. Whereas on the standard version of FrameReady, I have the ability to pull this piece of art out of inventory. It automatically fills in all of the customer information, the price, the condition of it, and also the dimensions will be imported in as well. And it's going to have a separate area up here in the top right-hand corner to identify what is the cost of the art. On the Lite version of FrameReady, although the field is here, you do not have the ability to pull the ready-made frames out of inventory as well to have them sell on here or have them listed separately on an invoice when you sell them. In the standard version of FrameReady, this is the ability to go into the products file, type in what the number is of the ready-made frame, and have it appear on this work order. And it pulls it out of inventory and allows you to go ahead and frame it to those exact dimensions. So that's one of the benefits or the differences of the Lite version and the standard version. Also, if we go to the contacts file, you're going to see some differences there. Take a look at her record in the contacts file. And you can see at the bottom of the screen, there are a number of colored tabs giving you all the information that you need about this person. The difference in the Lite version of the program is that if I go to the contacts, some of the tabs are grayed out. So in the Lite version of FrameReady, you do not have access to the invoices, the invoice details, or the received payment section. On the standard version of FrameReady, the information is all there. And this is showing every single invoice that this customer has had with you, the balance that they owe you, the amount of money that they have spent with you to date. You can also have rewards so that if you want to reward them with so many points and then they get a discount if they've used up, if they've accumulated the correct number of points. You can also see the invoice details to see what is on that invoice. Is it a work order? Is it a photograph? What are the items that are on there? And then if that customer comes in and wants to pay off multiple invoices all at once, you have that ability to select the invoices that they want to pay and submit that payment and then pay those items off. There are some things that are identical in both programs, and they need to be. And one of those is the price codes file. So you will find that in the price codes file, the information in the Lite version and the standard version of FrameReady are identical. There won't be any differences in there. The other section that is identical is the purchase order screen. So this is the same in FrameReady Lite as it is in FrameReady Standard, because the pricing and the ordering of materials is the same regardless of whether you're using the point of sale version or the frame pricing version. Now, in the standard version of FrameReady, there are a couple of add-ons that you can have. One of them, as I mentioned, was the QuickBooks, so that if you wanted to add QuickBooks in and have that working with your FrameReady program, you can do that. And it will allow you the ability that once you have created an invoice, you can push the invoice over to QuickBooks. And that will push the invoice or the payments for you as an accounts receivable. And it's going to give you the report on your accounts receivable to keep the money coming in, to let you know who the customers are, how much they purchased, what it is that they purchased. But your QuickBooks is going to tell you overall in a nutshell, how is my business doing? Am I making a profit or not? Because the QuickBooks also looks after your accounts payable as well. The other ability that you have in this version of FrameReady, that is the ability to use credit card processing. So if you have the standard version of FrameReady, you can use the credit card processing to automatically run the credit card through FrameReady, so that once you've entered in the information of what's going to be added onto the credit card, all you need to do is click the button to say process the credit card transaction, and that transaction will go through. This is easier and more secure for you than having that transaction device on the side where you need to rekey in the amount. Sometimes mistakes happen. So this is fast and easy and only available with the FrameReady standard version. So the next question is, how do you know which version you need to use? You have a couple of options. One is that if you are one of those businesses that already has a point of sale software, I would start and say, go ahead, you need to purchase the FrameReady Lite program. There are also those people who say, well, I'm just starting out, I'm a basement framer, or I'm not sure, I'm a hobby framer, and I'm thinking that I want to get into framing. Then starting out with the Lite version is a good option. However, if you have the full version of FrameReady and you start with that, then all the data that you've collected is in there. And I would say even the gentleman who designed the software to begin with, they were a small two-person shop, and they knew that everything that they needed to do in their small shop is available in FrameReady Standard. So rather than having that extra add-on of having to write the invoices out by hand or having another software program to do that, everything is built into one software component, making it easier, and it's all interrelated. So that the minute you create one work order, all that information is stored and is put into the contacts file. It's automatically put over to an invoice, and it's pulling that information out of the products or the price codes file. So everything is interrelated. The advantage also is that if you start out with the FrameReady point of sale program, all that data is saved in there. We have had people who said that they started out with the Lite version, not sure if they needed the standard version. And then after a year or 6 months, they decided, yes, I do need to move to the standard version of FrameReady. But now all that data that would normally have been accumulated and put together is lost, and you don't want to go back and re-enter all of that information after 6 months or so. So the idea is generally to start out with the point of sale. And Chrissy, I think you have some advice for people. If they're not sure and they're looking at the demo, what should they do?
We have both of them available, the FrameReady Standard version and the Lite version. And I like to let them know to try out the Standard version first, because then they can see what all of the fields can do for them. And typically 9 times out of 10, that's the one they want to go with. So it just sets it straight in their mind that, you know, it makes it very clear which one they like the best.
That's really good advice. So start out with the standard version, see if that's going to meet your needs, and then if you decide that you wanted to look at the other one secondly, go ahead and do that. But definitely start out with the standard and see how much of it you are using. That's great. The other question that people ask is if they're looking at the standard version of FrameReady or the Lite version of FrameReady, can you network multiple computers? And the answer is that it works on both of those. So you can add additional networked licenses to either the Lite version or the standard version of FrameReady. What you need to do is purchase the networking, and then you also have to have a FileMaker Server software that works with that. The FileMaker Server software is free. All you need to do is purchase the networked licenses to go with it. And you do have to have a server computer to put the FileMaker Server software onto. And the things that you can network with are either a desktop computer, a laptop computer, or an iPad. So it's going to work with all 3 of those. The other question is, if I have multiple stores, what would you do? Because even if you have multiple stores, you can still use the FrameReady Lite in your craft store or camera store to network between the additional stores that you have. And you can do that also with the FrameReady Standard. One of the differences is that because with the FrameReady Standard, you have the ability to use the products file, you would also be able to see the inventory at the other stores for these items as well. So that's a benefit in using the standard version if you do have retail products that you want to sell. Otherwise, if you're going to be networking and with multiple stores, the Lite version works as well if all you need is to price the frame and that's it. The next question then is, what if you do start out with a Lite version and then decide that you want to go to the standard version of FrameReady? And the answer to that is that all you need to do is pay the difference between your original purchase price for this Lite version and the purchase price for the standard version. And when we upgrade you, all of the information that you have in the standard version in these 4 files will transfer over to the standard version. So everything that you have in the Lite version of FrameReady in those 4 files will definitely transfer over to the standard version, and you can start to use the additional files as well. If you are looking for a list of the comparisons in FrameReady, you'll find them on our website under the Products tab. Go to the comparison chart, and this will show you all the different features available in FrameReady and whether or not they're in the FrameReady Lite or the FrameReady Standard. And if you click on one of the headings there, it'll give you the details. Well, I'm just going to say thank you to everyone for attending today, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.